Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I have returned again this evening to discuss green energy on the $28 million highway project. A couple of weeks ago, Deputy Supervisor Cataldi said that the design consultants had done studies on green energy, and she would have the studies posted. This is yet to happen, and I would like all studies regarding green energy to be put online so all residents can see how this isn't a good investment for Webster. Supervisor Flaherty last week waved around an informational piece, this one here, and was very proud that the town gave out over 2,000 of these information sheets after residents paid their taxes. But number 7 states clearly, and I quote, "The town will be completing a study for this facility to fully assess the opportunity to utilize green infrastructure on this project." So at this point in time, no green studies have been done on this project, and this town board passed a $28 million bond without looking at green energy. That's a fact, residents. That's a fact. According to Supervisor Flaherty's column this week, it's okay. Because if construction bids come in higher, the town board could just raise the bond higher. Just great news for Webster taxpayers. I also found it concerning that Councilman Cahill and Abbott both mentioned last week the terrible conditions at the present garage that the dedicated highway workers had to work in. But neither councilman seems to be bothered that we are now in the 8 weeks into a new year, and the highway and sewer workers don't have a new union contract passed. Is this town board or the HR directors playing hardball with the union to save money, to pay down the $28 million bond, I ask? These are the same workers you praised last week for going to Buffalo to help out in a snowstorm. So please stay at the negotiating table and get these dedicated workers a new contract. In closing, I would like to remind Supervisor Flaherty that all these talks about grants are only monies Webster residents have paid to New York State on April 15th in some of the highest state taxes in the U.S. of A. It's not free money, and Webster residents are now paying twice for your projects when you take grants. And a good reason why over 300,000 residents have left New York State to avoid these high taxes. And soon will be leaving Webster after they realize how much taxes will be going up in Webster after your $80 million latest spending spree. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. And Ken Corbus is next.
Good evening. So, I wanted to talk about the highway garage bond. I watched the video from the previous 2 meetings, so I know you said that I left before you answered my questions, but I can't speak after that point, so there's really no need to stay. And I'll be leaving again tonight, and I'll be watching the video. The nice part about the video is I can stop it, go back and listen to it again and watch it as many times as I want, so I'll be doing that. But as I mentioned at both board meetings before, several items that have been mentioned on the plan don't have any line items in the budget. The new stormwater treatment facility, my question still has not been answered. Improvements to the main building, my question still has not been answered. A fuel island improvement, that question still hasn't been answered. And then also, you threw in another $888,000 plus over and above what the bond was for when the bond already has $5 million plus of incidentals and contingencies. And I asked why that was, and there's still no answer. I know you've gone ahead and approved it. It was a unanimous vote. I think I see why now you had to make it such a rushed vote last week. One of you is not here tonight, and you would need all 5 of you. first time the budget was introduced was at a town board workshop on September 9th, where people weren't allowed to speak. We then opened it up on the 16th and the 23rd. So there was about 14 days for people to speak before it was out there. I highlighted the fact that there was a statement that the building design was around 30% complete at the time it was released, and then 50% later, and then there was a statement of 60%. And I was told it's because you hadn't picked out the drapes yet. So I think it would have been nice to at least tell me that the structural design of the building was done. Maybe I would have been a little bit more comfortable. And now I've been requested to have a private meeting to go over some of this stuff because you can't speak about it in the public, and I don't understand why. I think taxpayers should know. And there was some discussion about the numbers that I threw out, and whether the numbers were right or wrong is irrelevant. It's either 80,000 or 81 million, 80 million, 85 million, 87 million. Still a lot of money that's being spent. And again, I have an 88-year-old mom living on a fixed income that is probably what I used to make working part-time when I was younger in college. And that's my main concern. And then we talked about house values. There was this concern over the fact that the house values in the assessment is at 64%. Well, I can tell you this right now, my house is valued at $311K with the town, assessed at $212, I think it is. And so I'm way over your $200,000 number. And I have a feeling that there's another piece to that assessment that really wasn't talked about. And I'll wait for your answer and watch it later. You never disclose that this doesn't include the village properties. The village has its own highway department, and they will not be contributing to this bond. That's my assumption. If I'm wrong, please tell me so, but I'm pretty much certain that that's the case. And so there's a number of houses in the village that won't be taxed. That means that the remaining houses in the town will have to pay more per property.
I'm going to break from something on this. I'm not going to cut into your 5 minutes because you still...
Well, maybe
But before you leave, while you're up there,
yeah.
I've written down a bunch of things, and the one that I definitely want, if people are watching, watch the tape, and I want while you're here. Paul, address what he said about the village taxpayers.
Yeah, highway buildings are required to be paid out of the general townwide fund, which does include the village.
Okay, I'm going to start the clock again, so that answers that question.
Well, thank you for answering that.
You got
It's the
it.
first time you stopped and answered.
It's the first time that I've had the question. Thanks, Kenny.
Then that begs the question, you know, how do the village people feel about this? And so that's a whole nother story. But as I said before, you know, I don't think any of you are doing anything wrong. Please don't think that. And I've never said once to anybody, and I've talked to a lot of people, that the garage is not in need of repair or replacement. I think that's a well-known fact. You can see it. I've been to the garage before. I've seen the videos. I've seen the pictures. I've talked to people that have been there. I've talked to some people that work there. And I don't disagree that it needs work done, but I just feel like this whole process was rushed. It would have been nice to give the town residents 30 days maybe to review it and have some more numbers out there, but it's water under the bridge now, and I understand that, but it's still my right to stand here and talk about it. So I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ken.
I'll look forward to the video at 11.
I wish it'd stay, but I understand why. I think, unless somebody else, this bean gets me every time, if anybody else has come in, I don't think so. So that's it for that portion. And I just want to say, you know, it's funny, Mr. Nesbitt and Mr. Corpus, they were in last week and took the podium also. And I think Mr. Corpus actually took the podium the week before that. So he's got a hat trick. He's got 3 meetings in a row. And I think you guys have heard me say this before. I appreciate hearing the criticism and questions of the community much more so than getting bestowed praise on us. because you don't learn much from praise. You'll learn and see if you got to get better as an organization from that criticism. So I really appreciate when Ron and Ken come in. It's unfortunate with 45,000 people in this town that with all the communication that we did on this project, that really only those two came in, and then Jason Torres last week, and I think Mary Taylor. Is that her name? I know she has a sewer
Jane.
issue. Huh? Jane Taylor, okay. I know the board will probably kill me for this. I wish that every board meeting had 30 people get up on that podium and give criticism, constructive criticism, questions, this and that. We would learn, we'd be a better community. I don't know. I'm not so, I don't think that we're doing things so perfect that only 2 people are coming in. But that's what we're getting. And we certainly are trying to promote these meetings in about 12 different ways. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.